Welcome. Well, I haven't posted videos for a while because I've been helping care for my elderly mom who's had a rough time with some health issues, but it has given me a chance to reflect on some of the demands of this hobby. With the advent of Microsoft's awesome new flight simulator program, many people who've never even thought about flight simming are thinking about trying it out. It can be an exciting, fun, and rewarding hobby, as it has for me and many others, but it's not for everyone. Now, I'm not aiming this presentation towards people who have no real aspirations for their flight simming besides just playing as a game. You know, the people who find crashing to be the most fun, who always use easy settings and are happy to fly using a mouse and keyboard or a game controller. If you're in this group, this presentation really isn't for you. But if you're serious about flight simming, the technology that's available on a home computer now is outright amazing, and there's so much you can learn. As a retired airline pilot, I can't tell you how many times I've watched pilots flying on YouTube videos when I saw such professional procedures and callouts that I really couldn't figure out if they were real pilots or just sim pilots. Today's home simulation is amazing, and there's so much you can do with it. So if your goal is to use a simulator as an aspiring pilot or current student pilot, a currently rated pilot who wants to pursue proficiency training, a home cockpit builder who wants to build a realistic cockpit, or if you just want to learn about aviation and learn to perform cockpit duties like a professional, there's a few things you should think about before you jump in. My goal here is not to discourage you or bust your dreams, but to give you some red flags to look for, because over the years I've seen many people start off and spend a lot of money, get involved in flight simulation only to give it up later. The question really is, do you have the motivation to overcome any of these red flags that might apply to you? Red flag number one, are you a Luddite? By Luddite, I mean someone who's opposed to new technology, but that would also include those who just don't like it or don't like to work with it. Let's face it, the heart of every flight simulator is a computer, and unless you like computers or understand computers or want to learn about computers, you're not going to have a good time with flight simulation. I interact with a lot of people through the comments on my videos, and I deal with a lot of real-life pilots who want to start a simulator to work for proficiency. And I got to tell you that many of them have absolutely no real experience, especially older guys, how to use a computer. Yet they want to set up a simulator, and I try to help them, but it's very frustrating. I think you need basic computer skills, and if you don't have those, I would try to get those before I start flight simulating, because you're going to be frustrated and not make progress, and eventually you may give up. Trying to learn to use a simulator without computer skills is like trying to build a house without a foundation. The second question to ask when you're considering flight simulation is, are you spoiled? I say that a bit tongue-in-cheek, but once you get past the more basic levels of simulation, there's some work involved. Because this is a hobby, there's not a lot of professionals out there, sim gurus that you can hire to help you set up your sim. So it's done mostly through networking and by using YouTube, Google, and forums and Discord channels. And you make great relationships with other people, and you make friends, and sometimes you even get to meet those friends at flight sim conferences. And it's really a beneficial way to learn. But sometimes for some people who want to be spoon-fed, they grow frustrated and give up before they reach their goal. The third red flag that I would ask myself is, am I impatient? As I've already described, it takes quite a while to get these things set up. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was a flight simulator. Many new simmers see a great sim on YouTube and go out and buy all the same equipment and think that they're going to throw this together and have it up and running immediately. It's much better to slowly build your sim, adding equipment as you learn how to use what you already have, and eventually you get there. But you have to be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. Impatiently trying to go too far too fast can lead to frustration and eventually giving up. So as you can see, time is what it takes to develop a good sim. And that brings me to the fourth red flag, and that is, are you busy? Are you too busy to have time to really get into this hobby of simulation? Since a lot of what you need to learn will be self-learned or learned from others through forums and so on, it's going to take some time to really develop the knowledge base that you need as you progress forward. My wife always complains that she doesn't know enough about computers, And I tell her, you don't spend enough time with computers. Most of us who've learned technical things have learned it through a lot of trial and error. And that's not any different with flight simulation. If you're the kind of person who likes to learn, it's a great hobby because you'll continually be learning every time as you expand your sim, make it better, and learn more. And the good news is you get to go flying along the way. And just remember, there are only 24 hours in each day, and if your days are already full, you're going to have to give something up to find time for your new hobby. And that brings me to the final red flag. And I put this last because it's something that's more easily overcome than you would think. And that is, are you financially challenged? A lot of this equipment that you're going to be buying for this new hobby is expensive. You know, if you go out and you buy a honeycomb yoke and throttle quadrant, you're going to drop $550 there. If you bought the Charlie rudder pedals from Honeycomb, we're talking another $400 probably. So you're almost to $1,000 before you buy a computer. It's going to take at least $2,000 probably to buy a really decent performance computer. So just with the very basics, there's a lot of money involved. So while this seems like it might be the largest unsurmountable obstacle to getting into flight simulation, I got to tell you, I've been amazed by the resourcefulness of people who are bitten by the bug and really want to pursue it. Most of us have access to a computer anyway to begin with, so sometimes you can avoid that cost. And there's lots of used equipment out there for those people who didn't know the red flags before they started and ended up getting rid of all their equipment when they gave up the hobby. There's also some amazing people out there building DIY, do-it-yourself peripherals that you can get involved in. And sometimes for me, making those things is the largest part of the fun, seeing what I can produce. I was a pilot my whole life. I never really produced anything. In fact, if there was any sign of the fact that I had been there, usually that was a bad thing. It involved bent metal or tracks in the mud on the side of the runway. So I kind of enjoy producing things that I can step back and look at. And I've done a number of projects. You may have seen some of my projects online that I've shared. And people are always sharing stuff and teaching other people about 3D printing and soldering and things like that. Really a lot of resourceful people in the community who are willing to share. Many people build computers from scratch, and as you evolve, as your simulator evolves over time, you slowly spread those costs out. And each thing that you add adds a little bit more fun to what you're doing. And in the end, you end up with a great simulator that you can afford. And as I said, we always find money, just like we find time for the things that are most important to us. So there you have it, the 5 red flags that you might consider if you're thinking about really diving into flight simulation in a big way. Obviously, none of these is a showstopper. If you really are motivated, you can easily overcome all of them once you're bitten by the aviation bug. I hope I haven't discouraged anyone with this presentation. I do hope that I've set realistic expectations and hopefully motivated you all the more to join into this great community of flight simulation pilots. Thanks for hanging on till the end. Please subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more of my videos. Please like, share with your friends, and I'd love to have your comments on what I've had to say. Thank you.